Hello everybody, I've made this video today to help parents to understand how we promote early reading skills here at school at St Andrews. So early reading development doesn't start with children learning letters like these. Early reading development actually starts before this, and it's all to do with their tuning in and being able to listen to sounds and say sounds correctly using their voice. Within this video, I'm going to teach you today about pure sounds. I'm going to show you a demonstration of how we say all of the pure sounds correctly within the alphabet. And then I'm also going to explain to you with some examples of how not saying the pure sounds correctly can actually make it harder for children to be able to read, and it can hold them back a little bit because it makes blending trickier. So first, here on the screen, I'm going to show you the different letters of the alphabet, and each letter has a corresponding pure sound. I am going to say all the sounds correctly, and it's important that when you're with children, if you're playing a game or if you are looking at letters, that we also model as adults the correct sound as well, so that this will help them with their reading. So here we go. A, S, D, T, I, N, P, G, A, K, K, O, B, F, E, L, H, R, J, V, Y, W, Z, X, Q, Sh, Th, Ch, Ng, Nk. Okay, so there are all of the sounds that we do cover in set 1 in the read writing scheme of phonics. So now I'm going to explain to you why it's important that we do say sounds correctly. When you are teaching children to be able to read, one of the first things that they need to be able to learn, and a skill that they need to be able to do, is called oral blending. So what that means is being able to hear different sounds and recognise that they can be pushed together to make a word. Now you can do this without using letter cards like these. You can do these when you're out and about, if you are going for a walk, if you're playing in the house. You can incorporate this into meal times and playing Simon Says really easily. And in a different video, I am going to show you how you can do this through the use of games. Today, I'm going to show you how we use pure sounds to be able to read words, and I'm going to give you examples of how it can actually impact our ability to read a word if we do not say the sounds correctly. So within my first example, I am going to say the sounds correctly so that you can hear this word here. Okay, so I have 3 letter cards, 3 sounds in front of me, and they each have a pure sound, and I am going to say them correctly. So we've got K, A, T. I'll read it again a little bit faster. K, A, T, cat. I was able to hear the sounds and to push them together to read the word cat, because I read each letter sound correctly and it was pure. Now this time, within my next example, I'm going to teach this letter sound T incorrectly. I'm going to use something called schwarring, which is where you add letters to the end of the pure sound, and this does not help children to learn to read. So instead of saying the sound T, which is pure, I am now going to change it and I'm going to say T. Lots of children do add sounds to the end of words. Instead of saying T, they may say T. Instead of saying F, they may say F. Or instead of saying K, they may say k, for example. And by not saying these sounds correctly, it does make it harder for them to learn to read. So here is my example where I am going to use schwaring, and it is going to make it harder to read this word. K, a, t. K, a, t. K'ata. K'ata. I think it says k'ata. Now, k'ata is not a word, and it's not the word that these three sounds say when they are blended together. Can you see how saying this sound incorrectly actually makes it harder for a child to be able to read? If they say t instead of the pure sound t, they would read this word as k'ata. Now I'm going to give you another example so you can see again, using some different letters, how this might be a problem. So this time, we've got s, I, t, sit, sit. I could read that word because again I used pure sounds. But this time I'm not going to. Instead of using the sound s, I'm going to say s. And instead of saying the sound t, I'm going to say t. S-ita. S-ita. A child would read this and think that it says s-ita, which is not a word. So here is another clear example of how not using pure sounds correctly can actually hold a child back a little bit in their reading development. Now, this is a skill that is taught all the way from nursery age. And within my next video, I am going to show you some examples of Fred Frog games that you can play at home with your children, and that will help them to learn early oral blending skills. Because oral blending doesn't start with learning letter sounds like these. It's a step before this. Oral blending just requires a child to be able to use really careful listening and to be able to hear that sounds are different and to learn how to push them together. I hope you found this video useful, and in my next video I will show you some examples of how to develop oral blending skills. Thank you, goodbye.